Hey guys, my name is Jeff, and this is a 2004 Lincoln Mark X concept prototype car, which is the Lincoln version of the 11th generation Ford Thunderbird that debuted in 2002. It's a pretty cool car that would have toured the show circuit with Ford and Lincoln, including the likes of the Ford GT that would later come out in 2005. So it's a pretty cool car, and it reportedly cost over $1 million for Ford to produce in its concept state, and it's going to be selling here at the Meek of Glendale auctions. Let's take a look. So moving on to the exterior, we can tell that this is clearly still an 11th generation Ford Thunderbird. We can see the big rounded fenders and emblems. We can see, of course, the convertible top as well, but of course it's been Lincolnized and it is a prototype concept car, so it features a variety of different features as well that would have been changed likely had this gone into production. But the thought of this being alongside the 2005 Ford GT and even the other concepts at the time is a very cool thought, especially considering that they wanted to improve the image of the Lincoln brand by producing what was then a very popular vehicle, the 11th generation Ford Thunderbird. Now, the reason this probably didn't go into production is probably the same reason the Ford Thunderbird went out of production. They produced about 70,000 of the Ford Thunderbird in total, but the problem is when it first debuted, it sold very well, but quickly declined every year until eventually ceasing production. But this being based on a 2004 Thunderbird means it does feature some of the upgraded goodies that came later. Now, talking about some of the styling, it's important to point out that obviously this has been changed to look like a Lincoln, and there's a variety of other concepts that likely wouldn't have actually made it to production had this continued forward. For example, the super skinny mirrors and the sunken in door handles. But let's take a look at this car nonetheless and see what all is going on. So looking at the front here, we have this egg crate grille, which is similar but not quite the same as the one that would have come on the Thunderbird. We do have these nice sort of very futuristic looking headlights which have HIDs, it looks like, and to me they look like they would have come off the Lincoln MKV, I believe it's called, the SUV, which would have had very similar headlights. We do have a Lincoln hood ornament here, which looks absolutely fantastic. We even have some extra grille marks. Those could be harder to add in production, for example. And we even have some fog lights and some other notable features as well, which is all very cool. As we move around the exterior of the car, we do have very Lincoln wheels. Obviously, these are chrome, and behind them you actually have Brembo disc brakes. Now, the likelihood, I would say, of Brembo disc brakes actually making it into production is not very likely. As a concept car, which Ford likely spent over $1 million to produce, there's a lot of that probably wouldn't have made its way in there, including the door handles or other futuristic things. Now, you can see the interior is actually finished in this fantastic cream color as well that tends to stand out quite a bit with the gray exterior. As we move around here, the other cool thing is actually this glass roof. So to my knowledge, the Ford Thunderbird never had an option quite like this. So having the glass roof that even blends into the back is very nice. Not nearly as cool as the R129, the Mercedes-Benz panoramic roof, but it's pretty close and pretty cool, and it appears to be a powered convertible top as well. Taking a look at the interior of the vehicle, we can see that this has changed significantly from the Thunderbird it's based on. Even the gauges, for example, are totally customized. And we have a ton of Lincoln, more specific badges, including a fake screen there because this was a concept car, not meant to be, obviously in production, but you can see some of the various add-ons. So talking about the various powertrain as well that's in this is based off the 11th generation Ford Thunderbird. So under the hood is that sort of Jaguar-developed 3.9-liter V8 that would have been good for 280 horsepower and 286 pound-feet of torque in this particular configuration, and paired with a 5-speed automatic transmission, which we could see the shifter for right there in the middle. Now, this car would have weighed around 3,800 pounds. That means the 0 to 60 time was actually improved to about 6.5 seconds, with a quarter mile time about 15 seconds, and a limited top speed of 132 miles per hour. Excuse me. It is a good-looking interior. I like the Lincoln Mark X badging on the far side there. It's a pretty good-looking vehicle. Obviously, the mirrors probably would have been changed to meet federal regulations. The door handles probably would have been changed, but not too shabby. Now, moving on to the back, we have some very dramatic changes. Now, this is so different from the retro theme of the Thunderbird. One of the things that it seems like they tried to do with this Mark X is really make it more futuristic, luxurious, and forward-looking, as opposed to the Thunderbird, which went for a more retro futuristic approach. So it's pretty interesting to look at. I really like the way that they did the exhaust here. That's a fairly unique feature, but I would have loved to see what this could have potentially looked like had they kept pushing it forward into production. Lots of chrome, you can see there's lots more accents, and even this color is absolutely phenomenal. And it's an interesting alternative as opposed to what we got with the Ford Thunderbird. So it is based on the same Lincoln LS platform, which would have been used for obviously the Lincoln LS, the Ford Thunderbird, and even some of the various Jaguar models that existed. But it's a pretty cool vehicle. I'd be curious to know what your guys' thoughts are, what you think would have made it into production. Would you have bought this over a regular 11th generation Ford Thunderbird? Obviously, it is quite the looker, but I imagine these would have been considerably more expensive, but it would have been cool to see, you know, maybe a different sound system. Obviously, there's a lot more effort put into the concept in terms of the interior changes. This feels way more premium and way more special than the standard Thunderbird interior, which still has some retro goodies to it. But it's just an interesting looking car, and it's cool to see it come up for sale here at Mecum, where somebody will have the opportunity to purchase this, as it was in the possession of Mr. Powers, who actually worked for Lincoln as a designer in the 50s and 60s and bought this car when it came up for auction from Ford Motor Company in, I think, 2010, and he held on to it ever since. Unfortunately, he has since passed away, and so now the car is up for sale. So a cool chance to open this very cool opportunity to own this beautiful car. So with that, if you enjoyed the video, could hit that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it, and consider getting subscribed for more content like this in the future. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.